up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we're doing the what's next on Frank Martin, the now former world title challenger, following his tough 8th round knockout loss to Gervonta Tank Davis when he challenged Davis for the WBA lightweight championship on June 15th in the main event of an Amazon Prime pay-per-view card. Before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So, Frank Martin was boxing his ass off. He really was. I mean, I thought he put on a great performance. He did what I thought he could do, but he also did what it also played out the way I thought it was going to play out. You have to stay away from Tank for 12 rounds. You have to be able to take his power when he does land and everything, and Tank, the pressure he was putting on, he was okay with losing rounds to get Frank Martin to eventually slow down, and then he landed that picture perfect uppercut to the straight fucking left hook that knocked Frank Martin out. Martin fought his ass off though. I had him winning 5 rounds to 2 heading into that 8th round. So I really think going forward, Frank Martin has a lot to look forward to. He boxed well. He's a solid fighter, and I think he proved himself to a degree. So now the big question is, what's next following his first career defeat and loss? Let's run through the top 10 really fast and see what could be out there. We start with Vasily Lomachenko, the IBF champion. Not going to happen. Lomachenko, 1, they're with different promoters. 2, he's coming off that loss. And 3, Loma is likely gonna be fighting Tank next. Now, if the Tank fight were to fall through, I still don't think Loma would take on Frank Martin. Again, different promoters. Loma has other options, better options that are in-house options, and I just think it's just too much and not worth it for Loma, so I don't see that one. Then you got a rematch with Tank Davis. Not gonna happen. Tank proved himself. Martin's not a big name, no doubt. Not gonna happen. Then there's Shakur Stevenson. This fight was supposed to happen. Would Frank Martin fight Stevenson, and would Stevenson fight Frank Martin now? I'm going to be honest and say not likely. Maybe Martin would be more willing than Shakur, but I think for Shakur, it's a risk to fight a guy like Frank Martin because you have to look as good or better than Tank, and it's tough when Tank just brutally knocked the guy out. So I'm leaning towards the less likely. Even though I wouldn't mind seeing the fight, I'm leaning towards the less likely. But both guys might be in a desperate position to say fuck it and fight each other. So we'll see. But again, I'm leaning towards the less likely. George Kambosos Jr., the former unified champ, I'm not seeing it. They're both coming off of tough knockout losses. I think Kambosos is more likely going to move into the very talented 140-pound division and test the waters there, in a bigger, better fight kind of deal in terms of money and on paper. And to be honest, I don't know who Kambosos really is tied to. I know he's worked with Top Rank, but I don't know if he has a contract with Top Rank. But he might I just think he's looking in other directions. I don't think he'd be interested. Then there's Jermaine Ortiz. I mean, I would love to see this kind of matchup, but because they're two little-known southpaw boxers, I don't think there'd be a huge public interest. It really would be a boxing fans type fight, and they're with cross promoters. You got Top Rank for Jermaine Ortiz, and you got Frank Martin with the PBC, so I don't see that one happening. Then there's Isaac Cruz at 140 pounds. Even though Frank Martin could move up to 140 and Cruz, is looking for options, I really don't think the WBA, after his next defense, is going to allow him to force another step aside unless it's a Tank Davis fight for Cruz at 140. So Martin could move to 140, but I don't think he would fight. I don't think a fight with him and Cruz would happen, even though it's possible because they're both with the PBC. But I just don't think there would be the high demand for it. But then, again, to hype a future rematch with Cruz, they might say, hey, Frank Martin is going to fight Cruz. Let's see what Cruz can do against Martin after Tank knocked him out. But I would think you would want to do that against like a bigger name guy. But again, I wouldn't completely rule it out with the PBC, but I'm going to lean towards the less likely. Then you got undefeated contender Raymond Muratalla. A top-ranked guy, I don't think the PBC would want to put him in there against a top-ranked guy in the next fight, especially when it's not a fight that a lot of the fans would be demanding. William Zepeda. I think Zepeda's willing to fight anybody if he's not going to get a title shot next. It's going to be interesting because he's a #1 ranked contender in every governing body. It's going to be interesting after his next fight against Giovanni Cabrera if every champion is going to be allowed to avoid him in their next defense. It's going to be interesting to see that. So, in the meantime, would Zepeda fight a guy like Frank Martin? I think he would, but I'm not sure a guy like Frank Martin would want to fight a guy like Zepeda next, especially when the promotions are one with Golden Boy and the other one with Amazon Prime. I just find that hard to believe that they'll come together, so I'm going to say no. Then you got Zaur Abdullayev. Now, this is, of course, a good option for any of these guys, but I don't know. For some reason, I don't see Abdullayev and Frank Martin being in high demand, so I'm going to lean towards the less likely, but I definitely think it could happen. Dennis Berianchuk, the WBO champ. I don't know. I think Berianchuk's going to wait around to see what happens with Shakur Stevenson and with William Zepeda to see what's allowed and what they can get away with. And then I think they're going to decide from there. So I'm going to lean towards the less likely on that one. Then you got Edwin De Los Santos. He's a PBC guy who looked like crap and coming off of a loss to Shakur Stevenson. I really believe there's legs to this fight. I think Frank Martin's going to want to come back strong, and I think De Los Santos is going to want to really shake that loss off, or that bad performance off some more with a good performance against a fellow PBC guy. So I could see this one taking place towards the end of the year. I really could see these two guys locking horns. I don't see him and Angel Fierro. Maxie Hughes is off the table and Floyd Schofield's off the table. So for Frank Martin, it's going to be tough for him to get a top 10 guy, but I think he needs to really try to land one of those PBC guys that's floating in the rankings right now. And I think after the performance he put up, he should really tell, what's his name? Hey, I want a good, tough opponent. I really do. So let me get a good, tough opponent. Sign me up. So we'll see what happens for Frank Martin. But that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on former world title challenger Frank Martin following his tough 8th round knockout loss to Gervonta Tank Davis. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.